And welcome to Big Blue Breakdown. I am Michel Buchheister, the host of this fine establishment this afternoon. I am joined today, as always, with Chris Hill. Chris, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Yes, be safe out there.
I love your costume you have on right now.
Hey, it's fantastic. And the myth, the legend, the man that's been on vacation for a little while, Matthew Lyle, is back. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal, sir. I'm definitely glad to be back talking to the Big Blue Nation, breaking it down. What a great time to be a part of such a great fan base. Everywhere you look, we are being successful. Football, basketball, baseball. Our soccer team is ranked in the top 3. Even if you go in to look into teams that aren't even recognized by the NCAA, we are killing it. Top seed in rugby. I think we were undefeated in hockey. Just loving it right now, man.
And it's money all day long, son.
Love it.
Money, money, money. So, Matthew, since you've been gone, Kentucky's been on a roll.
Did you just drop a Kelly Clarkson?
I'm not for sure.
I think he did. I'm fighting the urge to sing right now, so please move on.
Oh, man.
Okay, so let's have a little flashback from last week here. We played Missouri. We traveled to Columbia last Saturday, and Kentucky did pull out the win, 15-14, with a last-second touchdown. It was a touchdown pass from Terry touchdown Terry to Conrad.
My man, CJ.
CJ Conrad, Chris Hill's
Johnny
man.
on the spot.
And I mean, like this game had all of the makings of an upset, and somehow, some way, Kentucky pulled it out. So, Matthew, just give me your thoughts on this game. Like, is it time to panic a little bit in Lexington? Is it time to run that up that up pace offense that we so want? Like, just what are your thoughts on this game, man?
Well, first off, I'm able to sleep a little better at night. It does stink.
Yes!
I'm sitting here with one loss, and that one loss came in overtime by 6 points. So as much as I don't think we deserve to beat Texas A&M, it stinks losing it so closely. This one kind of offsets that. It replaces that bad taste in my mouth with an unearned win, or undeserved win, if you will. I think we definitely earned it, but you could say easily we should not have won that one the way we played the entire game. As far as concern, I am not concerned, because this is actually relieving for me. As a longtime Kentucky football fan playing in the SEC, this is how the story goes. We start out strong because our starting 22 can compete with almost anyone in the country, and even the conference, aside from maybe Alabama right now. What concerns me every year is what happens when you start getting into that depth. When other SEC schools have third-string 5-star recruits, and our third-string are 2-star recruits. That's what concerns me. Historically, that has ended in losses. Historically, that has ended with a very tough stretch of games. This year seems to be going different. The back half of the schedule is a little more winnable, a little more realistic to capture a nice streak. And the fact that even though we're hitting that wall, the line doesn't seem to be getting that same great push. Benny doesn't seem to be running it with the same edge he had. It's nice to see that we're still finding ways to win it. Yes, I am hearing a lot of optimism, a lot of questions. Should we run that uptick offense, or that up-tempo offense? Pump the brakes there. Because even though I think at times running no-huddle up-tempo allows Terry to just play and not think, we're a defensive team. And one of the things that can stop this defense is 3 and outs, offense being on the field for literally a minute, and then the defense having to be on the field for 40 minutes. That's the thing that's going to kill us. It's already shown times when it's hurt us. Vanderbilt got an easy score because our offense wasn't producing. Missouri got 2 pretty easy scores because our offense wasn't producing. Now, the second half, Kentucky really stood up against Missouri and didn't allow a first down. But I would caution anyone wanting to go to that up-tempo offense when our defense is really primarily made of our starting 11. A couple guys come in and relief, but it's not like we're rotating 22 dudes out there. We got that primary 11, and I want to put as much rest on them as possible the occasional no huddle drive, maybe one to start the game, maybe one right before half, maybe one coming out of half like we did against Missouri, or Mississippi State. I'm sorry. I feel like coming out of in the third quarter against Mississippi State, we had a game plan and there was no thinking. We just did it. But to commit to that, I think could be disastrous, especially coming.
Did we lose him?
There's still so much to be achieved for our program and history.
Alrighty, Matthew, and I like to welcome a special guest to the show right now. We have a fine man by the name of Billy Hatten on the line from Unpopular Opinion. Billy, how are you doing?
Well, doing all right. Doing some trick-or-treating. Kind of lost track of time, but...
Oh, man, it's all good. I mean, happy Halloween to you and your 15 kids running around there. But
I have enough.
But for those guys that don't know, Billy Hatten is a huge Duke fan. He is a Blue Devil fan. And Matthew, sorry to cut you off there, but Hatten is a little pressed for time this afternoon.
So we're diving into basketball.
So let's dive into basketball.
Okay, let's do it.
So as you guys know, the basketball season opens up next Tuesday. Kentucky plays those Duke Blue Devils. I believe it's in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right, guys?
Something like that.
It's in Chicago. So
yeah, one of them cities.
Yeah. So my question to Billy Hatten is, Billy, do you really think the Duke Blue Devils can beat our Kentucky Wildcats?
I mean, I do. I mean, anybody can be beat. Yeah. Any day of the week is basketball.
No.
Duke got their, 4 talented freshmen, number 1, 2, 3 player in the nation. Then they got the number 10 player, I believe he is. I mean, they have the roster. I haven't fully checked Kentucky's roster yet, but I kind of equate Kentucky as like the football version of Alabama. Where they always going to be good. They're always going to be good, and My Blue Devils have a pretty good chance of beating the number 2 Wildcats.
Who's that player they got? Who's that guy?
I enjoy
the big guy.
Zion Williams.
Zion.
Well, I enjoy talking sports with Billy. It's always great. I don't really, I'm not a fan of bringing a Duke fan onto this certain show, but if you're going to do it, I'm glad it's Billy. The reason that I have a problem with this entire topic, and I'm glad Billy gave a very level-headed and correct answer. Mine, as much as always, is going to be much more long-winded. There's so many question marks around this entire game. You got Duke, which more than likely has the better players, better pro prospects on the roster. They got 3 guys that can easily go top 5 in the draft. Kentucky, on the other hand, has the depth. Billy was talking about the rosters on it. I'm well versed in both. The point guards is a real big question. Duke's got Trey Johnson. If he's anything like his brother, he's got to be excited about that. I think Kentucky has the better point guards in Higgins and Quickly. However, they're all freshmen, and they're all playing in a big game that they've never done. So if they both play up to their capability, it's going to be a great game. If they don't, it's going to be a sloppy game because you can't have your point guards playing reckless. If one of them does and the other doesn't, it's going to be lopsided. Now, moving on from the point guard position, this is where I think the question for Duke lines up, and it could be great news for Kentucky, or it could be a bad night for Kentucky. Duke's really got the top 3 players in the country, as Billy alluded to, coming in. All 3 of those players really play the same position, but for the fact of college, they're stepping out and playing some things they're not 100% comfortable with. You move to the 2 guard. You got R.J. Barrett, arguably the best player in the country coming in, could be the number 1 draft pick. He's typically a 3. They got him playing the 2. Now, if he steps back and tries to shoot threes all night, I'm excited for that. But if he realizes he can put his head down and go to the basket, especially against a much smaller Quade Green, I'm a little nervous. And Quade, R.J. Barrett's a good defender. Now, Quade is a sophomore. Maybe he can have a little bit of a better edge over him. But I'm a little nervous on that. Jamal Baker, our backup 2. He's a great three-point shooter, but that's really all he brings. And he's been injured ever since he stepped on campus. You move on to the small forward position. Cam Reddish down and get to the basket, that may cause us some trouble. We got Tyler Hero, who I think will play a lot of three. Great three-point shooter, amazing scorer. However, as I saw against Pennsylvania, when those threes aren't falling, he kind of gets stiff on offense. On the other side, we have Johnson. Johnson's, I think, going to be one of our more energetic players. I think he'll really bring the magic on defense, but the question applies. Typically, when young guys, when you see them dominate on one side of the ball, they struggle on the other. If they're going for 30, they struggle on defense. If they're locking down on defense, they really can't get going on offense. You move to the power forward, there's so many questions around Zion Williams, who's looked great, but has he looked great against competition? We don't know yet. If he does, I'm really nervous for Kentucky. Now, I think P.J. Washington can stay with him, but what can P.J. do against Zion? Same goes when E.J. Montgomery comes in. I think he's very energetic, but he's very young. How are both those freshmen really going to get going? You go to the center position. You got Bolden. He's a junior. Is he going to be a man junior, or is he going to do what a lot of times happens at Duke and Kentucky when one and dones find themselves in their junior year? They get kind of in a slump. They get kind of bummed out. They're depressed. You know, guys they came in with are making millions in the pros, and they're still a junior in college. Now, he has to go up against Nick Richards, who's looked really dominant, but he's also played against guys he should look dominant against. If Nick Richards goes back to his fluffy ways, his soft ways of last year, it could be a long game. I like Reed Travis. Reed Travis is a man, and I think he can compete with anybody in college, but he's also used to playing at Stanford. He's not used to playing the first game of the season is going to be 10 times bigger than any game he's ever played in. And then if you just look at overall teams, you couldn't get more different, but there's so many question marks around it. Kentucky's 9, 10, 11 deep. That could be great. That could be problematic, too, as Cal tries to find his best rotation. Duke really only has those 5 guys. The bench, their backup point guard averaged 6 minutes a game last year. Yeah, their backup 2 guard is really a 2 or a 3 that hasn't really played enough at either. They got some senior big men who haven't logged a whole lot of minutes. If Duke were to get in foul trouble, it could be problematic for them. But if they, a lot of times, how many times have you seen in one game a team stick and say its 5 best players get a win? Will that win them a title? No, but it's not March. It's just October or November when the game happens. So there's so many questions around this. Kentucky could win by 30. Duke could win by 30. It could be a great game. It really depends on there's so many questions around this entire roster. And, yes, Kentucky does bring a lot of guys back and have some veterans, but you're sprinkling around so many freshmen with it on a big stage with high expectations, and you're playing that second game. So you're playing that second game. If Kansas-Michigan State goes into double overtime, it might be 11 o'clock before you even get to take the court. You're already exhausted mentally because you started typing 12 hours ago. It could be very concerning. It could be a great night for us Kentucky fans. It could be a disappointing night for us Kentucky fans. That's the downside to having this be your first game, and it's kind of the downside to bringing in an opponent in enemy territory for the first show because none of us have anything to really rest our hats on yet.
I like that we play Duke to start the season. Like, I like that. I mean, it gives us – I mean, I don't, but I do. I mean, I don't because it's Duke, and I don't want to lose to Duke. I mean, nobody wants to lose to Duke. But I'm glad that it's an extremely talented basketball team that we pretty much I mean, we measure up to them, but this will prove if we can or if we can't. PJ, I think he'll last with Zion. Not the whole game. I mean, this Zion kid, have you seen this guy? He's a monster. Have you seen tape of this guy, Mike?
Yeah, I saw him play in that high school game last year on ESPN.
I mean, this guy's a beast, and I think I agree with Matthew. I mean, I think PJ can hang with him the whole game. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you if he could or not. I mean, we're gonna see if he can. I hope that he can. But
now Zion's shot is notoriously bad at shooting in high school. Now, granted, that's because he didn't have to do anything but dunk on high school, anything outside that paint.
Right.
But in the preseason, or when they were on their overseas trip and these couple of preseason games, he's starting to develop a jumper. Now, I would take those odds. If I'm PJ or if I'm Cal, I want to keep him as far
out
from
of
the
the
rim
paint.
as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, don't let him get – if you let him get in that paint,
it's over.
He's going to make you look bad, and against the freshman, against the E.J. Montgomery.
Right, a team that that's still trying to gel together.
Yeah, it could put him in a bump early.
Okay, so go ahead.
My hope.
Go ahead, Billy.
Oh, Billy,
My
I
whole
forgot
thing
Billy was
is,
here. Go, Billy.
you know, back to Matthew, to one of Matthew's point. He said, you know, five players can't really win you a championship. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of false. We are talking about basketball. We are talking college basketball. If you guys remember a few years ago when Duke beat Wisconsin and won the title, we was only playing 6 guys,
Well,
7 guys.
yeah,
you know,
well,
you was bringing Grayson Allen off the bench, and we had one more guy coming off the bench, and all he did was shoot. So if you asking me, can 5 guys win you a championship in college basketball?
yes.
Sure
Michigan
they can.
did it.
No.
The Fab Five.
Well,
Michigan
yeah.
did it.
No.
We've seen this happen before, and these are not just 5 guys. These are
No.
5
Five.
talented guys. We're talking about
No.
the top 3 basketball players that come out of high school, you know, out of everybody. And Zion Williamson could have easily been number 1 over R.J. Barrett. And, you know, another point is, how many times have we seen guys not be able to shoot the basketball in college consistently, but then, you know, they get to the NBA and struggle? You can get to the NBA or you can dominate college basketball without having a jumper. Derrick Rose did it, getting to the basket every single time.
You're right. You're right.
But so yeah, in college basketball, you don't need elite skills, you know, or you don't need to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep. You just have to have a couple guys that can ball and a couple guys that you can bring along. So yeah, Duke can win the championship with 4 or 5 guys. You know, we did it.
It's just their
Well, my
odds.
statement wasn't that they couldn't win it. It said that you don't win like that in November. And that was my thing, is because you got 5 guys who aren't used to playing college yet. You said every year with Kentucky and Duke, the team that's in November is completely opposite from the team you see in March because they develop. These one and dones are better players than most of the kids in the country. So by the time you get to March, these one and done freshmen are essentially sophomores.
In your face,
I
sucker!
totally agree. By the time March gets here, they will have their roles defined. And yeah, they might win with 5 primarily guys, but you're going to know how to. Coach Hayes going to know how to rearrange that. That's why I was saying that was the point I was making, is that there's so many questions this early. Because Coach Cal and Kay don't know exactly what they have. If you don't know what you have, sometimes it's better to have 5 guys than it is to have 10. Because 5 guys, you just say, you're my 5, I'm rolling with it. 10, you know, you might try so many different combinations that you find yourself losing a game. But that's the question mark, because we don't know this. If this was week 6 and both teams were 7, 8, 0, it would be a much better conversation because we've seen this. We've not seen it yet. Absolutely, Duke can win the title if these guys gel. We've also seen Duke have some of the best recruiting classes and lose in the first round. The years with Jabari Parker, the year with Austin Rivers. The freshmen are so – a lot of things, you know, Duke and Kentucky are the outliers, really, because since they started doing recruiting classes, no team – there's only been 2 teams since they started keeping track of this that won the title with a top 10 recruiting class of that year.
That's us
It
and
was
Duke.
the 2012 Kentucky and 2015 Duke. Every other year that there's been rankings and you found yourself in the top 10 recruiting, you don't win it that year. So that's where the plot thickens. That Kentucky and Duke are relying on so many freshmen that the math says you probably shouldn't win the ring, but both these teams have done it. And that's why it's so tough to do anything more of this game than just talk about potential, because, man, we've not really seen anything of these guys.
There's so many what ifs.
So, I mean, I'm very excited for the game, but me and Billy talk about this all the time with pros of not overreacting so early. If Kentucky wins by 20, I'm not ordering me a championship shirt. If Kentucky loses by 20, I'm not saying, well, here goes the NIT. So many things can change from game 1 to game 40.
Well,
I'm just saying it's tough to have this discussion because it's so early.
Well, let me give you something to look forward to, Matthew. I am looking forward to Reed Travis getting in there and being the leader that we need him to be, and to just get in there and to just simply put those freshmen on his back and say, guys, this is how you play college ball. This is a perfect opportunity for Reed, Travis, and PJ and Quade to basically earn those leadership roles for those freshmen. Yeah, those freshmen have been top of their class for, since they're 8, 9, 10 years old. And like, I really truly think like this is what will make this game so special is you see all these young kids learning how to play the game of basketball. I'm going to predict a bold prediction here. The first 10 minutes of the game, it is going to be ugly.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be missing shots. They're going to look lost. They're going to not know what to do. They're going to kind of find a groove the last 10 minutes of the first half, and then once that halftime hits, you will see the leaders of Quade Green, Reed Travis, PJ, say, "Hey guys, this is how you play college basketball," and then they're going to come out and just destroy Duke in the second half. The reason is because Duke doesn't have that. They don't have those deep guys that can teach them how to play basketball or teach them how to play college basketball.
I'm hoping for that with Reed Travis, but I'm concerned because Reed Travis in 40 years at Stanford played 1, 2, 3 games in front of a crowd with more than 20,000 people. In 3 games in 4 years, Reed Travis played in a stadium that held and had more butts in the seat than 20,000 people. Everything he does at UK is going to be 25, 30,000 plus.
Yeah, bigger and better. I think.
How does he react to that?
I think it'll make him show up more. I think it'll make him play harder.
It may have, but they talk about the Duke and the Kentucky way. Some kids get there and they say, "I want this." Some kids get there and they don't. And really, even though age-wise and experience-wise, Reed Travis is a senior or a fifth-year senior, when it comes to Kentucky and big-time basketball that's happening November 6th, Reed Travis is just a freshman like everybody else.
Right, that wide-eyed freshman.
So, like, I don't want to exclude Billy from this conversation here because, he's a very...
it is a Kentucky show.
Yeah, it is a Kentucky show, but Mr. Hatten, Mr. Billy Hatten, from Unpopular Opinion, let's sit back and think about this. Do you really think that Zion can compete with PJ, like, down in the paint? And who else we got there? Like, we got, Reed Travis down there.
Mike, that can't be a serious question.
That
Mike.
is that's a
I was going to
Honestly-
say, man, because look, I'm not even a Duke fan,
Honestly,
but this guy,
Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen video after video and highlight after highlight of this guy. This guy's legit.
Okay, so he is legit till he gets tired in 10 minutes into the game.
Well, I mean, he may do
everybody's going to get
that.
tired.
Yeah, exactly.
I
First
think-
game of the season,
I
first
think at
true
this
game
point-
of the
yeah.
season. Everyone's going to get tired. Yeah, you're right. But, man, I'm telling you, this guy –
I'm going to rely on talent this first game. And like Matthew said, if Duke win, good job for Duke. We're on the right track. Nobody's going to overreact to day one win. Because these teams are going to be totally different by the end of the season. Just for me, I'm going to take the talent aspect of it. I know Matthew brung up the Jabari Parker years. Most of those years, we only had one guy that was there, and then we had another guy that was kind of coming in. The one year that we had all big heavy hitters coming in at the same year, the Justice Winslow, the year Grayson Allen and Tyus Jones, that's the year that we actually won it. So I get it. And Matthew, I'll be the first one to tell you, we'll have this team, and we'll get beat in the round of 32 or something to a team that we probably shouldn't even lose to.
Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Lehigh. So I'll be the first
George
to
Washington.
admit Duke underachieved. But this year, with these guys, Cam Reddish is really underrated, even though everybody know who he is. He's the number 3 player in the country. But nobody really talks about Cam Reddish when we think of Duke basketball right now. First name you hear is Zion Williamson, which is rightly so. I think he is big time. Then you hear R.J. Barrett, he's big time. Cam Reddish has a lot to offer to this team. And, Mike, to your point, I'll pick my guys to bang with anybody in the country. That's as a Duke fan, that's just the way I see it this year. Maybe next year it could change, but we're talking this year. I like my chances with with the team that we have.
So, Billy, let me ask you a couple questions, just kind of in the spirit of college. When we do RTF Live, we don't talk a whole lot of college. Maybe that'll change as basketball season approaches. Which would you rather have? Because we've both been victim of almost the same yet different circumstances, being a one-and-done culture. Would you rather have a school like Duke that when you're not winning the national title, you're losing in the round of 32, so, hey, at least it's out of the way early? Or would you rather be like Kentucky, when we're not winning the title, we're cruising to the Final Four only to get beat by a team that has no business beating us that late? You know, one that sticks out to me and really kills me is 2014. We came in as an 8 seed. We beat K-State. We beat number 1 Wichita State. We beat number 4 Louisville, our big rival. We beat number 2 Michigan, number 1 Wisconsin, only to lose in the championship game by an underhanded UConn team, which, me personally, it hurt so bad. I wish we'd have just lost in the first round, because I wasted my whole tournament, got to the championship game, only to come up empty-handed. So what? I mean, obviously your goal is to win the championship, but would you be, if you knew you were going to win the championship every 5 years, but every other year, would you rather lose in the first round or lose in the championship game those other years?
To me, we had this conversation, I believe, in the preseason when we talked about, preseason basketball rankings or the best conferences in basketball leading up to the year. And I told you then, I don't want to get to the championship game and lose. Like, that's not my goal. Like, that's not a win for me. I'd rather just get out the round of 32. At least I know I didn't even have a chance to win it. But once I get there, I talk about it all the time, LeBron James and his finals. Who cares if you get there? We only care about if you win. The Patriots, we only care about if you win it. Who cares? The Warriors, who cares? If you don't win the championship, it does not matter. So for me, I'd rather lose in the round of 32, go ahead and get it out of the way. At least we know, like, all right, listen, we didn't have it this year. But I would hate to get there and lose. I've done it a few times when I was in high school. Right there in the semifinals, 1 game left, and we lose. I've lost in the semifinals 3 times. And I would rather not even get to the playoffs, if you ask me, because who cares about Final Four? It doesn't matter if he doesn't win.
So
as silly as this sounds, Billy, to one last thing to your point here, I think that's true. Like, this to me feels so raw and so painful until you win again. So, for example, I'm going to use Tom Brady, for example, because it stinks right now that he's made the Super Bowl back-to-back years, won 1, then lost 1. But if he wins it this year, that loss last year feels a little better, because you're like, oh, he won 2 in 3 years, made it 3 straight. It just sounds better. It rolls off the tongue better. Like, right now, it stinks that Kentucky's made it since they won the title. They made it to 3 Final Fours and come up empty-handed all 3 times. But if we can win 1 more title and we say, okay, we won 2 titles in the last 6 years and made it to 5 Final Fours, to me, that makes me feel a little bit better. But right now, I got to agree with you, because there's no title to ease those. And right now, it just feels like missed opportunities, and it's a raw bandage. Oh, Billy didn't die on Halloween.
Did that dog get him?
That dog.
That was weird. So
No, I'm good. I'm still here.
okay.
I think he fell or something.
Praise the Lord. So, I got a question for Mr. Duke over there. So this is the first time you guys have really gone after the one and done player. Usually Coach K is kind of a player that, or the coach that likes to keep players around and make them into Coach K's guys. So let's say you guys lose in that second round in the NCAA tournament. Does that change your view of the one and done? And like Coach K should kind of stick to his old ways and keep a player there for 3 or 4 years, such as a Allen, that type of guy.
Well, for 1 second, Billy, before you go there, I want to interject, because this is not new for Coach K. Coach K's been doing this since 2012. He had 2 and 12. He had 3 and 13. Emil Jefferson just didn't really pan out. He had multiples in 14. I think he had 4 and 15, and it won a title. 16 and 17, he had quite a bit. I mean, Duke's really bought in. Now, it's not to the degree of Kentucky where there's 5 and 6 every year, but in the land of one and done, there's Kentucky, there's Duke, and then there's Kansas. So,
well, but they've always had those seniors on that team as well, or those juniors that have been there.
That's some form of leadership.
I think that was more, Stone Age type. When you think about, Coach K has talked about this too. And it's about adapting. He see what Calipari can do over in Kentucky, every single year. As long as you're winning, as long as you won the top programs, people are going to come. So I get it. Coach K didn't like the one and done, but in this culture, that's the only way you're going to win. I talked about it, I believe, with my brother one time about how these guys are so ready when they come into college now because all this AAU, all this traveling and all this other stuff that these guys do, that frankly, when I was in school, it wasn't to this degree. So these guys coming to college already ready. So it's smarter, especially if you're a coach like Coach K, a Hall of Famer, you have to adapt with the times. And you can't just say, oh, I'm old school, this is what worked back in the early 90s. So this is what we're going to keep doing. No, you have to change with time. A lot of people didn't like the RPO. Now, guess what? You see that in just about every offense.
So
you have to adapt to your environment, and I think he's doing a good job doing that.
So you're saying that Duke is copying UK, trying to be great like us.
Trying.
Look. So
well, I mean, every place is a. I mean, it has to start from somewhere.
You're right.
Kentucky aren't the only guys that's having one and dones. They were the only ones at the time that was being successful in getting 1, 2, and 3, kind of like how Duke is doing now, where they have a whole team full of McDonald All-Americans. So it's not that people are copying Kentucky. It's just if you want to win, if you want to compete, that's what you have to do.
You have to take the Kentucky blueprint and copy it.
The Kentucky way. You want to win. So that's how you do it.
Hey, look, I'm trying to be the mediator here because I can tell, Yeah,
you're playing my role right now, Matthew.
Mike's poking the bear right now. But
it's the mustache, dude.
To Mike's point right here, or to Billy's point of the whole conversation, yes, it is Kentucky's culture, but even Kentucky hasn't perfected it. Because when I think of the perfected one and done, I think you go out, you get 5-star recruits. The ones that are guaranteed draft picks, they go. The ones that aren't, they stay. Kentucky, yes, we do turn them out like it's going out of style, but for every Anthony Davis, there's a Marcus Teague. For every Karl Anthony Towns, there's a Deron Lamb. For every player that goes and turns into John Wall and that star, there's a guy that's in the D League right now struggling.
Well, Matthew, let me stop you right there. With the new addition of the new rules going to the NBA, we're going to have more players such as Anthony Davis, because if they don't make it, like if they don't get drafted in the first round or two, they can come back to college and improve. And so we're even going to be turning out even more players. So it's, basically the quote unquote
be losing
Kentucky
a lot of
way.
Players with the new G League rules, where they were going to pay players $125,000 or $150,000 or something to go to the G League, and it'd be just the same as going to college for 1 year.
Yeah.
You could be losing people.
And then think about it honestly. What would you rather do? Go play ball in the G League or D League or whatever for a year, bank $120,000, or go to school and bank? Well,
maybe not
depends
go
on
to
the school you
school,
go to,
but live the college life.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Chris, to your point, I'm not sure what direction you're going in that. Dude, if the G League's offering $120,000, college doesn't even have to give you that offer.
Right.
If college just says you can sell your shoes and your jersey, guys would much rather play at Kentucky, Duke, live the beautiful life, be touched by everybody that wants to walk up and hug you.
Right, but
go to
followed
Fort
by my
Wayne.
wife on Instagram.
But that's opening up a whole other dimension to it. That's the whole, if they start getting paid and so on and so forth. But
I'm just saying, college doesn't even have to really compete with the G League because let me.
You're
tell
right.
You,
Well, think about it. What's more how would you get more exposure? Starting in Kentucky or playing in the G League?
So the NBA, you don't need exposure. Let's be 100% honest. How many people have we seen just go over there and play? Emmanuel Mudiay, yeah, he went overseas and played for somebody, and you didn't see him for a year, and then here he is getting drafted and making money. NBA, you don't really miss. Like NBA, if you're good, and you're going to find a squad. What college needs to benefit, and NCAA needs to flex their muscle, is you can come here, be on ESPN every night, go home, be the big man on campus, the every dude wants to be you, every girl wants to be with you type mentality. everybody would rather, every 18-year-old in the world would rather do that than go pay bills in Iowa or Fort Wayne. But if the college doesn't adapt and give these players something to hold on to,
they're going to start losing.
Because I would go to Fort Wayne and live in a cornfield if I had $150,000. So college doesn't need to roll out $150,000. College needs to do something to say it's not going to be that bad here. And that's, like you said, that's a whole other different topic because there's.
So, like,
I definitely agree with Matthew's point on that. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, like, I was going to say, like, I really don't want to stray the conversation, but we can definitely get into something here, like, like with us four here, kind of spitballing our ideas, and like, so, like, I'm going to ask you guys this question here, So the Blue Devils and the Wildcats pride themselves on getting those top recruits, playing a year, doing the best they can, making it to the Final Four, winning a championship. If the college does not adapt, change their ways, and start paying the players, even $2,000 a month, it's just something to put some money in their pocket. Do you think the programs such as Kentucky and Duke and Kansas are going to start falling off the map because they have been because they don't know how to keep those players around for 4 years and train them? Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there are always going to be players out there in the country, anywhere.
I'm not saying there won't be players, but the domination of Kentucky and Duke will go down because they don't know, maybe they don't know how to coach. Okay.
Well, the way I think of it is, I mean, there's always going to be somebody that's going to fill the shoes of whoever's leaving. They're always going to get players. Now, what's going to be different is the quality of those players. Now, let's say the NCAA doesn't want to do this whole pay-for-play thing, doesn't want to give them the kids their cut of anything, doesn't want to let them sell their likeness or get a shoe deal or whatever the case may be. They're not getting any money. Okay, so let's say they leave, they go to the G League, D League, whatever. They're going to find coaches are going to find players that will come in and fill their shoes. They're not going to be as good as what they had. So I mean, it's the talent's going to kind of fall off. Yeah. More of the talent's going to stray away from the NCAA, from playing at Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, whatever, and they're going to go to the NBA Summer League or whatever to try to get their foot in the door to get out of it, just the NCAA period, and start their NBA career. I mean, that's kind of what I see.
I mean, it's obviously going to take a transitional period where everyone knows, but let's just take this year, for example. If the top 100 kids in the ESPN could have went to the G League, Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas would be fighting over players 102, 103, and 104. Right. They would then play for who's the best available. And then instead of having everybody with, like, the dominant teams, you would just have it wouldn't be – the basketball wouldn't be as good, but the whole landscape would be saturated. So after a while, you would stop to notice. Kentucky and Duke no longer would have the number one players in the country, but they'd have number 101. And number 101 – because 1 through 100 is not there to compete against him, number 101 still averages 20-plus a game. So you really wouldn't. It'd be a little shocking at first, but eventually the saturated game would just go on as it does.
Yeah, I think it's your caliber players.
Yeah, that's it.
Wouldn't be as good.
Good, Billy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had wrote down when you first asked the question. I said if UK and Duke aren't getting them, then who will? I mean, guys are wanting to go play for Calipari and Coach K. That's why it is the way it is now. So right to Matthew's point, that's where I was going to go. If they're not getting the top guys, then I'm pretty sure they're getting the next
best of the rest.
And also, just on the paying situation, these guys do get paid. The problem is they're not getting compensated enough. They only getting paid when their sport is in season. So, i.e., right now. As soon as basketball started, that's when these guys get their stipend for the time that they're going to play basketball. The football players, they only get their money whenever football season is in.
You're right.
So the real problem is when are all the other sports are going to get paid, really, because we know Kentucky, the basketball, their stipend for their basketball program is way more than what they would get for football, what they would get for softball. So the problem is not as if these guys or when they're going to get paid, is when we're going to increase what they can do, because we're telling them you can't go get a job, you can't go do this, you can't go do that, even though you broke. You can't go do that, because if you do, you're going to be suspended. So that's the problem about how much are we willing to give these guys. Are we going to let them sign their name for money and all that other stuff? And I think that's the problem. It's not whether or not they're getting paid, because they are getting paid. They're D1 athletes, so they're getting their stipends. But will we increase the level of that, especially now that the G League is offering $120,000 basically for a year?
Yeah, and if you play at Louisville, they throw strippers at you too, so you get money and strippers.
I don't even need them to get the stipend. They don't even need a stipend. I don't even care about that, because to Billy's point, it's joke money. It's just enough to say they're doing something. I just need them to be able to do what they want as someone who's talented. It's the same thing you could do if me and Billy was going to Kentucky and Billy was an athlete and he was playing on, or he was going to Duke and he was on their roster, he couldn't do anything. But if I'm just a Joe Schmo on a music scholarship at UK and I can drop it and I got a beautiful voice and I'm over here dropping albums, the UK wants me to sell my album because the music's not making any money. So now it's making money by bringing in this great album. These kids should just be able to profit off their skill. This isn't luck. This isn't something that they Duke in Kentucky doesn't have a drawing every year and they draw 10 random names out of a high school hat and say, okay, you guys are a part of our team. Now come be appreciative. No, these are guys who they have the talent. If Nike or Adidas wants to knock on Zion Williams' door right now, today, tonight, this second, and say $150,000 or $1 million, that's fine. That's on them. And if he becomes a bust, well, congratulations, Adidas. You gave a man $1 million for nothing. If he's great, you got your foot in the door for his next contract. And before anyone ever says, oh, well, once they start making money, their school's going to go down. They're not even going to take school serious. Well, how about Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma? The man makes more than his football coach by the Oakland A's. Still seems to be doing all right for that program to me. I haven't heard any academic restrictions where he's just been kicking it in class. I mean, aside from the stereotype that college athletes don't have to take classes, but you haven't heard him skipping class and pulling a Ben Simmons. No, he's got $6 million in the bank, more than Lincoln Riley. He seems to be doing everything right to me. If you're worried about the grades going down, you just put a stipulation in there that if you don't have a certain GPA, you don't play. And then, I'm sure Adidas doesn't want Zion Williams, or Nike or Under Armour want Zion Williams sitting on the sideline, can't play. No, he wants him out on the court. So there you got to go to class. I just don't see any reason for it. There's money to be made, none of which has to come from Mark Emmert or his pockets. So I don't know why he's so hesitant for this change.
Got to find a way for the NCAA
to your
to get
school.
their cut.
To your school point, though, Matthew, I mean, in basketball, it's really a joke. That's why the one-and-done rule is a joke. And I don't like it, but I would prefer the NCAA football rule, where at least you have to go to college for 3 years, and most of these guys can at least get a college degree in 3 years, whereas the NCAA basketball, where you only going to school for one semester, and basically you can have failing grades, because by the time grades come out, when March Madness come around, you're already going and you're working for the draft already. So, the school thing is a joke about the grade slipping in basketball. That's why you have a guy like Ben Simmons who can skip class but still be eligible to play. Because by the time the grades come out, listen, I'm already gone. I'm already not going to that school anymore. So basically, I got a semester, and that's it. So that school thing, that's a joke to me, what the NCAA basketball is doing. And they just need to either do away with this one-and-done rule or go like college football, where you have to go to school for 3 years if they say that they care about the grades like they say they do, which means they don't if you tell me I only got to go to school for one semester and I can leave.
Which would you prefer seeing, Billy? Would you rather them stay in for 3 years?
I would rather have them go straight from high school to the NBA if that's what they want, because no other sport really besides football and basketball garners this. If I'm a baseball player, I can go straight from high school and I can go make me some money. If I'm a 13-year-old golfer, I can turn pro. You know, if I'm a swimmer, I can go straight from, I don't even have to go to college. You know, if I'm a track athlete, I can go straight from here to the Olympics if I'm that good. You know, it just seems like football and basketball are the only sports where they're telling you, oh, you need to go get a college degree. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I would prefer them to not even have to go to college. If their skills provide them with enough assurance that they can make it to whatever sport that they playing in at the highest level.
I mean, I'm all for it. You're absolutely right, Billy. They're hiding behind this education because it makes the NCAA money. You know, the schools only really make money off March Madness, and the fact that you have Duke and Kentucky riding all the way to the Final Four and championship games with some of these guys is really the only way that, I mean, it's not the only way, but it's the main way that these basketball teams make this money. If they're going to adapt any of the system, because what you're going to do is, especially a sport like basketball, which I'm on record for saying you could literally play in Antarctica, and if you're LeBron James good, you're going to find your way to the NBA. It happens all the time. And you watch these NBA drafts, and you think so-and-so is going number 5. Well, he ends up going 20 because 10 overseas guys pop up. So if you said you had to go play basketball for 3 years, basketball is a worldwide sport. These guys would be over in Germany and China in no time. I mean, Stephon Marbury was an average NBA player who really kind of started declining. The man's a hero in China. He's got a statue in his own candy. So these kids would just go over there for 3 years. If you're going to do anything like another sport, take the baseball rule. You can either go straight out of high school, but if you go to college, if Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, St. John, Syracuse spends time and money recruiting you and you enroll in college, then you stay 3 years. But it's basketball. You could set that rule, but after 1 year, they get mad and they go overseas. They go to Canada. They go anywhere they want. It's just different with basketball.
All right, guys. So, I mean, I really feel like we could probably talk about this pretty much all day, forever and ever and ever. But we need to get into football here. Billy, thank you for joining us. I mean, we would love to have you on next week after Kentucky beats Duke. If you would feel obligated to come on to the show and, you know, take your L as a man, if you like.
Dude, when Duke loses, I need you to cry into a glass for me so we can drink.
Hey, listen, I just need the invite, and I'll be here wearing my Blue Devil gear, sending you guys selfies. That's
and
next Wednesday. I'm with it anytime, guys.
All right, so next Wednesday, guys, tune in, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have Billy Hatten back on the show, and we will recap the game. So be sure to stay up late, guys. Watch the game. I will try to DVR it because I'll probably be missing most of the game.
You want to do projections real quick for the Georgia Kentucky game?
Yeah. Let's do a quick little score pick here.
Man.
And we'll go ahead and start with Billy. What are what's your score prediction for the game on Tuesday?
Saturday.
It's Tuesday night, but that's okay.
I'm talking about the.
I'm thinking somewhere between 80. I think Duke wins this game. 80, 85, 82.
All right, Matthew Lyle. What is your prediction?
Give me Kentucky 78-64.
Shocker.
Yes.
Chris Hill, what is your prediction?
Well, Kentucky's going to win, obviously. Cha-ching. Take it to the bank. Score-wise, see, man, you're up there in the 80s. Let's go 79-72. Cats win.
Okay, and I'm going to lowball y'all. I'm going to do the prices right here.
$1, Bob.
I'm picking Kentucky, but like I'm thinking like 62,
60s? See, man,
54 type
I was thinking
score.
about going that way, but I don't know. I
mean,
I was just thinking first game of the season,
Right.
it won't be much defense played.
Yeah, I was gonna
There's
say,
going to be a lot of
defense is
easy buckets in transition. Yeah, I just think first game you're getting your wind up underneath you. I mean, you're getting your wind. You're trying to get in shape. That's why I think it's going to be high scoring.
I'm telling you, man. But watch this game. You were right. Like when you said earlier, the first 10 minutes or so are going to be super sloppy. Probably the whole first half is just going to be terrible.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers.
Both sides of the ball, offense and defense, for both teams is going to be terrible. Well,
you know what? I'm going to, Mike. I'm going to give you some deep action. I'm going to say at the 10 minute mark, At the 10-minute mark, Duke will be up by double digits.
10-minute mark.
At halftime,
Duke.
at the 10-minute mark of the first half, Duke will be up double digits. Duke's going to come out hot. You got players 1, 2, 3 in the country. They're going to come out excited, balling. Duke gets up double digits early. In the second half of the first half, Kentucky everything kind of simmers. Nothing's really falling for anybody. Kentucky chips away, goes into half down about 6. In the second half, the beginning of the second half, that's when everything will be dropping. This is where Billy's point comes in. Everybody's tired, and they're using what bit of energy they have to try to score some points. And then the score is going to be close around the 6-7 minutes mark. That's where I think one of the teams will pull away. Of course, I'm going to go to Kentucky. But you see this all the time. One of the teams is going to pull away, have a 6-7 point lead with a couple minutes left. The way the fouls always work, they're always trying to foul and trying to find a way to jack up some threes and comes back. That's when it's going to pull out. I think whoever wins does win by 12, 15 plus. I'm going to go to Kentucky as a Kentucky fan, but I don't think it's going to be indicative to the score. It's not going to be a lopsided blowout. It's just going to be somebody's going to be down by 5. Tyler Hero's going to hit a big 3. Make it 8. Duke starts fouling. Kentucky starts making their free throws, pulls away, makes it look ugly. But even if Duke wins, makes it look ugly. But at no point was it ever actually ugly.
So, are you kind of predicting like a West Virginia game last year?
I don't think it's going to get that out of hand. Like I think like the double-digit lead is going to be like a couple years ago in the Championship Classic when we actually ended up losing to Michigan State, but they end up getting up to like a 12-0 lead. I think that their passion and energy is just going to be – I think they're on point to what their plan is while Kentucky's still trying to find out what they're going to do with all these players. I think Duke comes out. I think Zion Williams has maybe like the first dunk of the game, just like a breakaway rim rocker. The place goes nuts. R.J. Barrett hits a couple big shots. They just keep pounding it and get like a 22-8 lead, a 20-8 type lead.
Damn.
And then it starts to kind of even out. But I do think they come out. You see it all the time with Cal's teams. He has like the end game in mind, but that first 5 minutes, we start like 0 for 6. We start 0 for 8 shooting, and I don't see why this would be any different.
All right, guys. So there are your bold predictions for the upcoming Duke versus Kentucky Wildcat basketball game on Tuesday. The projected tip time is 9:30 East Coast time, but you know how that is. It'll probably be 10:15, 10:20 by the time it's they warm up and that kind of thing. So, Billy, as always, thank you for joining us here on Big Blue Breakdown, and we'll look forward to having you next week, man. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys for having me. Good hospitality.
Anytime, bud. So let's let's go ahead and
access granted.
Move on to the possibly the SEC game of the weekend. I mean, it is close. I mean, it's a toss-up between LSU and Alabama, but your Kentucky Wildcats take on a Georgia Bulldogs team that is hungry, and this game kind of come up on them, in years past. November Kentucky football, you can pretty much chalk that up as a W if you are the guest team. Last year, Georgia defeated Kentucky 42-13 in Athens, Georgia. But like we said earlier to start the show, Kentucky coming off a huge win, 14-15 win in Missouri. And so I got to start with Matthew Lyle, with Georgia favored by 12.5 points going into Saturday's game. What do you predict? What do you think is going to happen? Just give me some insights, man.
So, yeah, last year in Athens it was pretty lopsided. But the last 2 games in Lexington, we haven't won. But one year we lost by a field goal, and the year before I think we lost by a touchdown, or the time before that we lost by a touchdown. This one really concerns me because I could see this being the game that has us free falling back to earth. And look, I would love to win this game. It's not going to be any sort of too high disappointed, no matter how bad we lose, if we were to lose. My thing is, and this is where I'll be very concerned, how do we bounce back? I don't want this to turn into one of those, and I hate to bring up an enemy, but a Louisville free fall. If you remember a couple of years ago when they were in the title hunt or in the playoff contention, they lost they lost one game to a Houston team, and then that game turned into another loss, and then that ended up having 4 straight losses.
They snowballed.
And they ended up like they snowball. I don't want that. I don't want to. If we lose to Georgia, let that be. I don't want this to turn into a loss to Georgia, go down, lose to Tennessee, struggle against Middle Tennessee State, and then get shocked by Louisville because they want to get us back for when we shocked them 2 years ago. And then next thing you know, you end up having a 8-4 record, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, but considering where we are, I don't want that. And then you find yourself back in the Music City Bowl, and all this hype, all this potential things that could change your program is done. And that's the thing I don't want. The thing I've been saying from really to the point, even at the beginning of the season, when everyone said, give Benny the carries, I was saying no. Now, it did get us against South Carolina. It got us through South Carolina. It's got us through Vandy. It's got us through Mississippi State. But you don't give SEC running backs 30 carries a game and expect that to make it through the season. You just can't do that. So what we need, and this is going, if we can master this, if we can figure this thing out, we can have a potentially great season. We could beat Georgia, beat Tennessee, beat Middle Tennessee State, beat Louisville, compete with Bama, and get a decent Fiesta or Sugar Bowl. But what we have to do is, look, Josh Allen's a beast. Benny Snell's a beast. But what we have to do is Terry Wilson has to give us something the first 3 quarters. Rose has to get back to giving us something. Bolden has to build on what he did at Missouri. That line has to keep just developing. Other guys on the defense, which the defense has been playing out of their mind, but that secondary has to make some additional turnovers. Cash Daniels has to – I know he's playing with a club on his hand and a broken hand. He needs to get back to making some big-time plays, some big-time tackles. Basically we need to get to the point where when we go into the fourth quarter, anywhere from down 6 to up 7, and then in that fourth quarter – you got a Benny Snell who's pretty fresh. You give him 10, 15 carries in the fourth quarter. You got a Josh Allen that hasn't had to do too much the first 3 quarters, and now he can just spend the fourth quarter busting up tackles and getting back there to the quarterback because he can pin his ears back. You do that, and I'm not being facetious and saying that you got to turn Alabama. You do that, you're getting past Georgia because Georgia has their struggle stopping the run game. So if Wilson can give us something for the first 45 minutes, Benny Snell will take us home in that last quarter. Josh Allen will take down Jake Fromm. It will kill him if we can just contain him, hold him to mediocre numbers. So in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen's fresh and can tear him up. It will demolish Tennessee. It will demolish Louisville. It will make us compete somewhat decent with a Bama. I'd like to play an LSU if we got there. We could compete with an LSU. It would get us in the playoffs. It would get us doing things if we can get to that point.
Okay, so
that's the key thing.
Like I kind of want to add on to what you're saying here, Matthew.
Well, do it. It's great stuff.
Like I am glad you brought up Jake. What's his last name? From the Georgia quarterback here. I recently fell into this Netflix series called QB1, and it followed Jake Fromm's senior year of high school. Fun fact: this kid did not lose a game in high school, and as a Georgia quarterback, he is 19-3. So coming off that loss from LSU, my question is like, can Fromm? Does he know how to bounce back from a loss? Can he really put a team on his shoulders after being smacked in the mouth by LSU and be like, hey guys, this is just Kentucky. This is just another game. Or is the hype of of this top 10 battle going to get in his head? And he is going to collapse. So I really hope that the Kentucky fans get into the game, really put pressure on Jake Fromm. Like I know he's played in the playoffs and big games, SEC championship games, but it's just like I really feel like the UK fans are going to be so excited, so hype, that our crowd noise could possibly make a difference in this game.
Oh yeah, when was the last time that, as a Kentucky football fan, you could sit here and say that we're going to play one game
in
at
November.
home in November. We're going to play one game. If we win this game, we win the SEC East.
This is the UK football Final Four.
Absolutely.
Game.
This game
yeah.
pretty much makes the rest of our season. We win this game, and I mean it's going to be pandemonium in Lexington. You'd think that we'd won the national title.
So a couple of things to really bring in everything that was just said here. I'm not really worried about Fromm because I'm not really getting my hopes up on that on Fromm because they lost the game last year. They bounced back, made it to the championship game. He played great in the SEC. He played great against Oklahoma. He really played nice against Bama. So I'm not really concerned. I don't really think that's going to be an option. I don't think the fans are going to rattle him. Now, what the fans can do, and the thing that's truly going to rattle, get him messed up. I'm getting too worked up here. Is the 6'5" DN that's coming at him. So if the fan base can get Josh Allen pumped, and then Josh Allen can get back there and start terrorizing him, then I think that's how the fans. But I'm concerned that there's a lot of fans thinking like Chris right now. Like, look, this is great. This would be a huge win to go to the SEC East. But your playoffs and everything's shot if you collapse. You could, just like I spoke, I don't want to collapse if we lose, even if it's by 60. Even if we win by 60, I don't want to collapse. I don't want to act like this is our Super Bowl, this is our championship. We make it to the East, we get down, lollygag against Tennessee, lose that, barely beat Middle Tennessee State, barely beat Louisville, and then we walk into Bama like we've done something. I already hear fans chanting, "We want Bama." No, we don't. Not right now. But if you go in there acting like you've done something and Bama slacks you by 60, that's what your program becomes a joke again. I don't want that. So this game is important, but it's not. Like we're ahead of schedule.
How is this game not?
Well, I'm telling you right now, man. Look, like even if we win this game, we play Bama in the SEC title game.
It's going to be LSU, but okay.
Okay, but anyway, theoretically to Matt's point here, we get to the SEC title game, we play Alabama, and we get stomped. I mean, just stomped by Alabama. You know what people are going to say? Oh, it was Alabama. They would do that to anybody. That's what they've been saying for years now, right? Oh, when Alabama stomps a mud hole in anybody, oh, it's Alabama. They do it to anyone.
Look, I know, man, but I'm just saying this game is important for what we want right now, but we're ahead of schedule. Remember we talked about this a couple months ago. 7-5, 8-4 was great.
That was your opinion.
Well, even he said 8-4, 9-3 would be great, assuming that one of these losses are coming against Georgia, right? I mean, we have to go back and see the date.
Right.
So, but like the best thing for our program is to, no matter what happens Saturday, carry on level-headed.
That's right.
We lose by a field goal or something by Saturday, that's fine. We're now 7-2. We go get wins 8, 9, and 10. We sit at 10-2. We go in, play a UCF, play a Texas, play a Oklahoma on a New Year's Day in a big-time bowl. We get a big-time win. We get to sit that big, beautiful trophy up in our locker room. Now when recruits come, they say, hey, that's our Sugar Bowl championship. Doesn't matter if it came against Ohio State or if it came against UCF. We got that big, beautiful trophy sitting there. Fans love it. We just shine it around. Recruits are touching it, wanting to be a part of that. What they don't want, Missouri was here a couple of years ago. Missouri was on the cusp. They come from the Big 12. They were making noise. The first year here, they dominated the East. They got to the SEC championship, and they got beat 51-14 by an Auburn team. They end up the next year, they go 6-6. The year for that, they fire their coach. And now they're 0-5 in the SEC, and they got a coach who's looking for their first-ranked win. I just don't want to put everything – this year is not championship or bust. Next year is not championship or bust. I'm looking for a bigger picture. Beating Georgia, beating Louisville, beating those teams isn't a part of that big picture for me. It is, yes, it's that consistency. It's battling back from adversity. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 years. If not, I think it was 2014, Florida State was the last undefeated championship. So winning every game isn't important. It's how you react from a win. It's how you bounce back from a loss.
So
it's going 10-2 this year. It's coming back next year with a good offense and a young defense and going 9-3, 10-2 again. And then it's that next year when you start considering yourself that way. Because last night was I was thrilled. I clapped. I jumped up and down when Kentucky was number 9. But it was a little embarrassing how they talked down to us like we was some charity case.
Okay.
They laughed. They
don't
at
believe
the idea of us winning it. They don't believe. I want to get to the point when we pop up on there, when we're at number 8, Kentucky. Oh, there they are. They got a chance.
Okay, so
It actually felt good that they were talking last night, and they were like, well, if Kentucky beats Bama, are you going to question their non-conference schedule? And I was like, yes, talk about us like we're important. It's rare. We need to build on this, win or lose Saturday.
So let me tell you a little story about back in the day here. The Kansas Jayhawks came out of nowhere. I believe it was like 2007, 2008. They were a mediocre team just like the Kentucky Wildcats have been in years past. They burst on the scene. I believe they went 11-1, sweeping through the Big 12, ended up going to the Orange Bowl and winning the Orange Bowl. Since then, they fell off the map again. So I understand what you guys are saying about the consistency, saying this game isn't the Final Four for us, it isn't championship or bust, but you have to capitalize on your opportunities. This is an opportunity to win the SEC East. This is an opportunity to make it to the Bowl Series championship playoff game. This is an opportunity to be seen by all these recruits in Texas, in Florida, in California. Be like, oh, these cats over here in Kentucky are, they're doing a little something. So you need to capitalize on this primetime game. You need to capitalize on making it to the SEC championship. Like, I truly feel this is a must-win game, because if you don't win, you might be that Missouri team and then stumble and win or like lose the last 3 of the 5 games here. They might.
And you can do that winning. If we win and beat Georgia and all those recruits you just talked about said, oh, my, Kentucky beat Georgia going to the SEC East,
right,
and then we go down and get walloped by Tennessee, they'll be like, oh, they're just like Syracuse. Oh, they're just like Boston College, who pulls an upset every once in a while.
But I don't see that happening. I see them getting the momentum and just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. If you lose to Georgia, say you get beat by Georgia bad, they might step on themselves and stumble for the rest of the year and make it to the Music City Bowl.
Same thing. I just said that. I mean, but I said that earlier at the show.
There's so many what ifs.
You haven't. But here's the thing, Mike, and no disrespect on this. You haven't been a Kentucky fan very long. We've been here, but prior to this year, their record in the games after beating a ranked opponent is not very good. It's well below 500. So we've been on both sides. We've been on free-falling losing streaks, and we've been on we won a game and we just capped. Like, there was a lot of hype after we beat number 1 LSU in 2007. We could not capitalize. We went 1-5 the rest of the way, not winning again until we beat a Florida State. And the only reason we beat Florida State is because half their players were suspended for cheating on tests. And I'm a little offended, Mike, because I know what you're talking about with that Kansas team. And Kansas team was not mediocre like Kentucky. Kansas had come off 3 straight 2-win seasons and 1 0-win season to come out of nowhere and go 11-1. Kentucky has at least built some stability with 2 5-7 wins, 2 5-7 years, and 2 7-5 teams. Do not compare whatever Kansas was going through in the early 2000s to Kentucky's.
Well,
they went 2-10, 0-12, 2-10, 2-10, and then 11-1.
You're right,
and that is not mediocre.
That's bad. And ever since that Orange Bowl, they had a mediocre season. After that, ever since then, I think they have maybe 10 wins total in their football.
You can partially thank Charlie Weiss for that.
And true me, Mike knows this because we do numbers and shows together. In true me fashion, I make a point, and then you agree with my point, and then I make the opposite point because that's kind of what I do. Look at Clemson. 07 and 08, they were right in the Music Bowl with us. Had some struggles, had some mediocre 7-5 years. Get a guy like Deshaun Watson in there, next thing you know, you're perennial powerhouses. Obviously, I don't think they can compete with Bama this year.
I feel like that can happen to any team, though.
I don't know any team. I think you have to have some really good backing in an area that is allowing it. Now, I think Kentucky, being in the SEC, allows it. To Mike's point, and this has nothing to do with the Big 12, there's some great teams in the Big 12. Teams
really.
like Kansas, I don't think can do it. Teams like Kansas, who doesn't even this year, Kansas is playing decent by their standards. Fans are still bored. It's just because Kentucky. The reason I've always said Kentucky fits perfect in the SEC, even though I think we could do better in the Big 12. Even though I think Kentucky's a perfect marriage in the SEC because, and you look at the 100 years of the SEC, it's always been Kentucky's SEC football has been really good, and Kentucky football gets to eat for free. And then in the winter, Kentucky basketball brings in all the food, and all the other teams are eating for free. So it's always been a marriage that's kind of worked. The SEC says, look, I know you're going to sit back there and be lazy in the fall, but in the winter you're going to put on.
Well, and that kind of brings me to my next question to Chris Hill. With the success of Kentucky football and let's say Kentucky, they sustain this football, they're consistently winning 8-9 games a year, and the basketball does well as well. Can the University of Kentucky support success in football and basketball? Because if you look across the country, take a look at Kansas Jayhawks for example. They are very successful in basketball, terrible at football. Take a look at Alabama. They are pretty successful in football. Historically, they've been pretty horrible at basketball. So can Kentucky sustain this football-basketball marriage type thing that they're having?
Well, basketball, it's always going to be Kentucky basketball. I don't think that's something that we're going to have to worry about. Football, on the other hand, if we could I love Coach Stoops. I love what he has done since he has arrived in Lexington. He's an awesome recruiter. If, by the grace of God, we could keep this guy as our coach for the next, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever, down the road. He can build a following, so on and so on, get a really good recruiting base set up around here and surrounding states and whatnot. Oh, yeah, he could definitely build something and put us football-wise on the map. If we can keep having years like we're having now and actually be relevant in the SEC, relevant, period, a regular in the top 25, that's not just at the beginning of the season, but also at the end of the season. I couldn't stand if we started the year ranked in the top 10, and by the end of the year we're not even in the top 25, not even in the top 30 or something like that. Can we be a Florida, where they can win a national title in football and then turn around and do it in basketball? I believe so. Absolutely, I believe so.
So let me tell you, I love that question, Mike, and I'm jealous you started with Chris, and rightfully so. I did most of the talking on the show, so glad to see you with us, Chris.
Per usual.
Right. Well, hey, you've had the last 5 weeks. Let me make up that time in one show. Let me take you in a time machine, sir. Chris may know this story very well. You may know this story too, Mike, but I love.
We're gonna hop in the DeLorean right now.
Yeah, we are 1950, sir. In 1950, Kentucky was ranked in the top in basketball and in football. Uh-huh. We had a great basketball coach named Adolph Rupp. We had a great football coach named Bear Bryant. Life was great. Now, there's a little story. I don't know the validity of the story. Some say it's true. Some say it's not. I wasn't there, so maybe the DeLorean can show us. 1950, Bear Bryant beat Oklahoma, won the 1951 Sugar Bowl, which was considered at the time, there was no national championship, so that was considered arguably a national championship. In 1951, same year, just a couple months later, Adolph Rupp won his third title, 3 and 4 years. Adolph Rupp got a brand new Cadillac. Bear Bryant got a watch. Apparently, rumor has it, this made Bear Bryant so upset he left. That he didn't feel appreciated at a school, quote-unquote, basketball. We have learned, my friend, and if we are lucky enough to see Mark Stoops get to the level of an Urban Meyer, of a Dabo Sweeney, of his brother Bob Stoops in Oklahoma, if we're lucky to get on that level, I think this university in that city has learned from that mistake. And the conference they're in sets up perfectly. The football conference divides its money 14 ways. No matter if you went 0-12 or you went 12-0 and won a national championship and your name's Alabama, we all get that share of money split equally. The basketball gets their money, as we talked earlier, from the run in March. So you got a football team churning out money. We're going to get money whether we go 12-0 or 0-12. We are going to pay Mark Stoops whatever he wants. The money, the way his contract sets up, I think with every additional win, I think his salary goes up $250,000 and he gets an extra year added onto his contract. He wins the national title this year. He'll be set to be here since 2050 probably. Basketball, we're going to always, to Chris's point, we're always going to be a basketball school. We're always going to give John Calipari as much money as he wants, and then whoever comes next, all the way to maybe even Brad Calipari, who knows? That money is going to go. When you start bringing that, let's not forget what Nick Mangione is doing down there in the baseball team. Getting a lot of hype there. Everybody always says, oh, Kentucky's a basketball school. No, what you're saying is Kentucky's not a football school. Kentucky's been winning national championships in basketball. Our baseball team's always flirting with some regional titles, getting really close to a College World Series. Our soccer's ranked number 2. Our rifle team's won a national championship. Our cheerleading team has 24 national championships. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but let's celebrate the pride a little here. So that just means for years we've struggled in football. We get there again. We get to the top. We go 10-2 this year. We go 10-2 next year. We win a national title in the next 5-6 years. We will do whatever it takes to keep the best here. We are not going to make the same mistake we made in 1951. But one asterisk, one caveat. I need to take what Chris said, and that can't be our fan base. Our fan base is delusional. Even in a football, and even in a sport of football where we've been notoriously bad for history, we can't be delusional. If we go 10-2 this year, let's say we make a Sugar Bowl. Let's say next year's a great year, we make the playoffs, and let's say that third year we win a title. Let's say that fourth year we've emptied the cabinets, all the guys who won the title go pro, and we go 4-8. Fans cannot call for Mark Stoops. You cannot get into a point where you think, well, you can get better. You got to say, okay, we had a 4-8 year, but next year we're going 8-4. Next year we're going to be back in the title hunt, because that's what the great ones do. Now, obviously, Nick Saban does it, but that's 50 plus years of history behind him. Right. Nick Saban went 6-5 in 2008. So let's kind of pump the brakes on that one too. So yes, I think we're going to do whatever it can to be an athletic school, and we're going to get behind it. But just like our basketball team is not going to win the title every year, just like we might have another NIT year. I'd hope not, but there might be another NIT year if Cal stays here another 10, 15 years.
Don't put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
But I'm okay with that. If in 10, Chris, let's say we're talking in 10 years.
10 years, okay. You and I, we're in wheelchairs 10 years from now.
God, I hope not. I'll just be 39. If Calipari's brought us 2 more titles, and Mark Stoops has brought us 1 title, I don't care what the rest of those years look like, because you got us to a point where we're in the rare air with a Florida.
So in 10 years, if we win 1 national title in football, let's say we lose 1 game, and it's to a crap team, but we still win a national title. That first year. 9 years, the next 9 years, we go, 4-8?
Access denied.
1-11, something like that.
Access denied.
Just horrible for the next 9 years. You're happy with that?
Considering here we sit, and we're celebrating 8-1, and we have no national titles to hang our hat on, unless you want to go with that Sargent one in 1950, which the NCAA does not recognize. Yes, because a national title is a national title. And even though I don't think that case would happen, I think that was an extreme, because let's be real. The SEC is contracted, and they always tend to play a MAC school and a Division II school. So 2 or 3 wins is always pretty much a lock, kind of. Even when Kentucky was at its lowest, we went 2-10. We were never 1-11, 0-12, not since the early Rich Brooks days. But yes, I'm okay with that. You win. If he wins the title this year, and let's say this year's the peak. Say this year he goes 12, or I guess it'd be 14-1, national title. Next year, and then each year it progressively slows by a win. Say next year we're runner-up. Year before we go 10-3. The next year we go 9-4. Next year we go 8-5, 7-6, 6-6, so forth, all the way down to 2-10, and that's that 10 years we're talking. Thrilled because I can do something that I've never been able to do in football and say, man,
and that's gloat.
Do you remember 2019?
Right.
When we beat Michigan, when we beat Alabama, Ohio State, when we beat Notre Dame?
No, we ain't beating Michigan.
Oh, you're right. If we're going to get there, sir, you're going to have to give up your lines in some way.
No, that ain't happening.
All right, guys. So we're kind of getting up against the clock here. So let's make some bold predictions here. Matthew, Lyle, who's going to win the game? What's your final score?
So you know how I do, and just because I've been away for 5 years, or 5 years feels like it. Just because I've been away for 5 weeks, don't mean I've changed.
So
Georgia 27, Kentucky 24. I hope we bounce back nicely. Hey. We are 3-0 when I pick us to lose.
You are. So, Chris Hill, bold prediction, score. Who wins?
Man. See, the fan. See, this is where you get mad.
Okay, so let me give you a little advice, Chris. Never vote with your heart. Never pick with your heart. Use your head. Use your head and think wisely, son.
Georgia beats us by a field goal.
Georgia wins by a field goal.
Georgia beats us by a field goal.
So
if our defense is great, if our defense can keep playing like they are, they're going to give Fromm troubles. They're going to give that entire offense troubles. The one thing I'm super concerned about is our quarterback play. I mean, Terry was 1 for 7, 1 for 6 with 7 yards and 2 fumbles and a touchdown at halftime, the Missouri game. Game before that, he was like 2 for 12 with 20 yards and a fumble and a pick or something like that the game before, that first half of that game. I mean, he's not as consistent as he was to begin the year. Now, I don't know if they're changing
competition
plays
has gone up.
or something like that. And then it's that mark. I mean, you're hitting that wall through the year. I mean, I'm sure that's got a little bit to do with it too, but I mean, he's got to be consistent. Our offensive line can compete with anybody to run the ball. Benny can compete with anybody in the country to run the ball. I don't think our running game is a problem. It's our quarterback play. It's got to be consistent. If he can consistently march us down the field, put us in good positions to score, field goal, whatever, I think we'll be okay. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't see us beating Georgia.
Okay, so let me chime in here. Thank you for everybody on the Facebook that has joined in. I see Mr. Lee Howard. Thanks, Coach. He picks Georgia winning 31-24. Over here on the Twitter machine, I have people picking Georgia. I have Matthew Lyle picking Georgia. I have Chris Hill picking Georgia.
Can I change my answer
No,
now?
you cannot.
Fuck.
You guys need to realize Kentucky is on a high right now. We beat Missouri, picked to lose Missouri. We are going to come out. We're going to play horrible the first quarter, and then Touchdown Terry alluded it in his press conference earlier today or yesterday. I can't remember exactly when it was. He wants to play up tempo. He is comfortable playing an up tempo offense. Kentucky's going to come out in the second half, play an up tempo offense. They're going to catch Georgia by surprise, score 21 points in the third quarter, and win by 10.
Man, I hope you're right. If you are right, I'm going to buy you the biggest, frostiest beer that I could find.
So
Matthew,
good,
Matthew.
But let me just this is my closing statement. So a little bit what everybody says. Mike, man, I wish I could be where you are right now. But being a Kentucky, even being a recent Kentucky fan, let me tell you what Mark Stoops, what the SEC does, and what Mark Stoops has done prior to this year. 2014, he starts 5-1.
Right.
They finish the season 5-7. The next year, he starts 4-2. Man, we're riding high. Finishes 5-7. But next year, we start 3-3 that year. We finished 7-5. That was actually a little bit of a better one. Then we start last year. We start 5-1. We could have easily been 7-1 like we are right now if we wouldn't have gave up a one play to a Florida team and gave up a long comeback by Ole Miss. We would have easily been sitting at 7-1. We finished 7-5. So I love the eagerness and the optimism, but man, I just don't have that in me yet. It has to be reinstored in me, and a win versus Georgia would certainly do that. But I don't have that right in me yet. To Chris's point about a quarterback. Man, I'm so optimistic because you see it at so many other schools. I'm always hoping that the next man up. I hate to be that guy that always chants for the backup, but like I hope Danny Clark's the next Teddy Bridgewater. I hope Danny Clark's the next Justin Herbert from Oregon. I mean, he was highly recruited. Ohio State wanted him. We got him. I see now that Terry's got some pluses, but he's also got a lot of minuses. I see Gunnar Hoax. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. Gunnar Hoax, just your mediocre guy. I think Terry Wilson can get us there, but man, I would love to see. Chris, are you an Ohio State fan?
Well, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
I know
even
you
ask me
I
that
know you
retarded question.
Okay, so I assume not.
No,
but I would love to have. I would love to have the. Calm down. This is not Kentucky.
I would rather let an entire classroom filled with second graders kick me in the balls over and over.
You know, once
than
again,
root for that team.
We can't get monetized because of him. So cut his mic off. So either way, the year they won the championship, they went through 3 quarterbacks in 3 games. And I would love to know that if Danny Clark came in, he's our future. I would love to see that because Kentucky's history from in the last decade would be substantially different with – I don't even need amazing quarterback play. I don't even need elite, great quarterback play. I just need decent college quarterback play. We would have – with some decent quarterback play, under Mark Stoops, the first year we go 9 – in 2014, we would have went 9 or 10-3. The second year, we would have went 9-3. The third year, we would have went 10-2. Last year, we would have probably went 9-3, 10-2. With some decent quarterback play. We always have a solid run game, whether it's been JoJo, what's his name? JoJo Kemp, whether it's been Boom Williams, whether it's been Benny Snell now, and it might be A.J. Rose the next. We've got solid receivers. Johnson over the past couple of years. Do you remember Blake Bone? He was kind of a letdown. The defense has always come solid. We pumped linebackers into the NFL. Since Andre Woodson left, we've been looking for that quarterback, and I'm afraid, to Chris's point, it's going to haunt us this year. It's going to lead to some kind of slide, and I would love to see Terry Wilson go on a tear, but fingers crossed.
Well, guys, this is a great time to be a Kentucky Wildcat fan.
Damn right.
And I definitely appreciate everybody that has tuned in today. We are live on Twitter right now. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And then this will stream on other streaming services as well, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. But this Saturday, I believe the game's at 3:30 kickoff. Let me verify that. I'm pretty sure.
Is this college game? Are we on game day this weekend?
No, it's probably no. We're not. But yeah, it is a 3:30 kickoff. Georgia Bulldogs coming to Lexington, 12.5 point favorite, and then Tuesday, basketball season starts. Duke versus UK.
Exciting week.
Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy football. Enjoy basketball. Enjoy being a Wildcat fan. Until next time, guys, follow us on RTF Productions on Facebook. Search for us, Big Blue Breakdown on Facebook. Everything is in the description. Twitter. Be sure to follow us on podcast. We are everywhere. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Wednesday. Good night.